On Global TV News Express, resident doctors suspend planned nationwide strike. In business, federal government proposes 142 billion naira for 6 national bus terminals in 2026 budget. On the foreign scene, Iran warns retaliation against any United States attack. And in sports, CAF to probe misconduct in Nigeria, Algeria, Cameroon, Morocco quarterfinals. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Express on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Mukhtar Kasim. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV, channel 365, and on StarTimes, channel 276. And now, the news in details. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has arrived in Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates, positioning Nigeria at the center of high-level global conversations on sustainability, climate action, and economic transformation. Our correspondent Oyi Agmonfuegbe has the details.
The president touched down at the presidential wing of the Zayed International Airport at exactly 11:30 p.m. local time on Sunday, ahead of the opening of the 2026 Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week, one of the world's leading platforms on sustainable development, which begins on Monday. President Tinubu was formally received on arrival by senior UAE and Nigerian officials, including the UAE Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Sheikh Shagbut Nayan Al Nahyan, the UAE Ambassador to Nigeria, Salem Said Al Shamshi, Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Maitama Tugar, and members of the Nigerian diplomatic mission in Abu Dhabi. The Abu Dhabi visit comes shortly after President Tinubu's engagements in Europe, where he held strategic discussions with Rwanda President Paul Kagame and French President Emmanuel Macron, focusing on cooperation, development, and global partnerships. The 2026 Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week themed the Nexus of Next, All Systems Go, convenes world leaders, policymakers, investors, and experts to shape practical solutions on climate change, energy transition, sustainable development, and inclusive economic growth. President Tinubu's participation underscores Nigeria's growing role in global sustainability dialogue and further strengthens the country's diplomatic and economic relations with the United Arab Emirates as Nigeria seeks partnerships that support its developmental priorities and long-term growth agenda. Uyi Agmofwegbe, reporting for Global TV News.
The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors have suspended its planned nationwide strike following the intervention of Vice President Kashim Shettima. The association president, Dr. Mohammed Suleiman, said in a statement that the decision to suspend the strike was reached after a meeting of the association's National Executive Council. He said the vice president requested more time to address the issues raised by the doctors, and the National Executive Council agreed to grant the request. The federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, will on Wednesday, January 14, formalize a new agreement to improve Nigeria's universities and ensure stability. The announcement was made in a statement released in Abuja by Folashade Boriowo, Director of Press and Public Relations at the Federal Ministry of Education. The formalization of this agreement follows years of engagement between the federal government and ASU to address industrial dispute and improve the quality of education in Nigerian universities. The federal government has proposed over 41 billion naira in the 2026 budget for the renovation, furnishing, and equipping of 109 Nigerian foreign missions. The proposed allocation covers the rehabilitation of chancelleries, ambassadors' residence, and staff quarters, as well as procurement of office furniture and official vehicles across Nigeria's diplomatic missions. The proposed allocation represents a reduction from the 53 billion naira approved for similar purposes in the 2025 budget. In the meantime, the federal government says it has inaugurated the 40 billion naira closed-circuit television camera CCTV center of the 3rd Mainland Bridge in Lagos State. Inaugurating the center, the Minister of Works, Dave Umahi, stated This and directed total re-evaluation and rehabilitation of the surfaces of the bridge and changing expansion joints. Now, as Nigeria marks the 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day, the federal government and state governors joined in paying tribute to the nation's military personnel for their unwavering service and sacrifices in defending the country's unity, peace, and territorial integrity. Across the country, the federal and state government also joined in honoring the nation's military personnel, holding inter-denominational church services to mark the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. The event provided platforms for leaders, including governors and defense officials, to recognize the selfless sacrifices of serving, retired, and fallen soldiers, while reaffirming their commitment to the welfare of troops and the support of their families. As Nigeria honors the courage and sacrifices of its armed forces, President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has called on all citizens to embrace peace, unity, and love for the country. Senator Akpabio, who was represented by Deputy Chief Whip Nwebonyi Onyeka, delivered this message during the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day Inter-Denominational Church Service at the National Christian Center in Abuja. Kikelomo Okere has the details.
The interdenominational service brought together top government officials, military personnel, religious leaders, and families, serving as a moment of reflection on the cost of freedom and the importance of national solidarity. The President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, who was represented by the Deputy Chief Whip, Nwebonyi Onyeka, praised the armed forces for their sacrifice in maintaining peace and safeguarding the nation. He emphasized that the bravery of these men and women should inspire every Nigerian to work towards harmony and national cohesion.
Dear beloved, I want to assure you that effort is in top gear to restore Nigeria as the most peaceful country and the most secure country in Africa.
The Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to improve the welfare of the Nigerian military and their families, highlighting the critical role they play in securing the nation, while acknowledging the courage of those who have laid their lives in service and urged citizens to collaborate with the government in tackling national security challenges, including terrorism, kidnapping, and banditry.
Our efforts will not be possible. Today is a moment of worship, a moment of reflection, and a moment of remembrance.
Most Reverend Uche Okafor of Presbyterian Church, while delivering the sermon, drew lessons from 2 Chronicle, highlighting gratitude, encouragement, and spiritual security. Reverend Okafor urged soldiers not to be discouraged, describing their service as not only a duty to Nigeria, but also commitment to God and humanity. He reminded military personnel to remain patriotic and neutral as the country approaches the 2027 electoral cycle. The service serves as a solemn reminder of the bravery and dedication of Nigerian soldiers, and the government says it will continue to support them and their families as they safeguard the nation. Kikelomo Okere, Global Television News.
Meanwhile, Benue State Governor Hyacinth Alia has called for greater national appreciation of Nigeria's armed forces as the country marks the Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day. The governor made the call during an inter-denominational church service held in Makurdi to mark the 56th Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day. The report.
Worshippers, security personnel, government officials, and religious leaders gathered at the Deeper Life Bible Church headquarters in Makurdi to honor men and women of the armed forces who have served and those who paid the ultimate price in defense of Nigeria. Speaking at the service, Governor Hyacinth Alia disclosed that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has renamed the annual Armed Forces Remembrance Day to Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day. Governor Alia said the new name reflects the need to honor serving officers and fallen heroes, while emphasizing that peace and security are vital to national development and require the support of all Nigerians.
For Benue State, the significance of Armed Forces Remembrance Day is deeply personal. Our state has witnessed painful security challenges over the years, and we know firsthand the value of peace and the heavy costs of insecurity. We therefore salute not only the fallen heroes, but also the serving personnel of the Nigerian Army, Navy, the Air Force, the police, civil defense, other security agencies who continue to stand between our people, our state, our nation, and danger. As we remember our heroes today, we must also renew our collective resolve as citizens. Security is not the responsibility of government alone.
In a sermon titled Understanding Spiritual Loyalty, Bishop Mike Angor encouraged Nigerians to remain committed to God and to live in unity and love. Chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria in Benue State, Bishop Wilfred Chiukba Anagbe praised the courage of the armed forces and acknowledged the efforts of the state government in improving development and security. The service featured special prayers for fallen heroes, their families, serving and retired military personnel, as well as peace and stability in Nigeria. In Makudi, Felicity Ndere, reporting for Global Television News.
Let's move away from the Armed Forces Remembrance Day to education, where the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has cautioned institutions of higher learning against the conduct of admitting lower-ranked candidates and bypassing higher-ranked ones. The exam body directed the immediate reversal of such irregular admissions, warning all institutions to strictly adhere to the established guidelines governing selection and admission of candidates. A statement by JAMB's Public Communications Advisor, Fabian Benjamin, noted that university admissions operate on a three-tier policy of merit, catchment area, and educationally less developed state. The statement said each tier is guided strictly by merit, such that candidates with higher rankings must be selected first, followed by others in descending order. The Nigerian Army says sustained military operations have significantly weakened bandit and terrorist activities in Zamfara State, restoring confidence to residents and road users across the state. The commander of the 1 Brigade Nigerian Army, Gusau, Brigadier General Mustafa Jimo, disclosed this during the 2025 West Africa social activities held at the brigade headquarters in Gusau. Now the report. The 2025 West Africa social activities provided a platform for strengthening civil-military relations, bringing together soldiers, their families, and members of the host community in an atmosphere of unity and peace. The event featured vibrant cultural displays by various ethnic groups, including Igbo, Hausa Fulani, Yoruba, and Tiv, celebrating Nigeria's diversity and shared heritage. The commander of 1 Brigade, Brigadier General Mustafa Jimo, described the gathering as an opportunity to foster harmony between the military and civilians, while also boosting troop morale. Addressing journalists, the brigade commander reaffirmed that security operations have yielded tangible results, noting that incidents of banditry and terrorism have dropped significantly. He added that major highways and communities are now safer, allowing residents and commuters to move freely without fear.
The historical event we are gathered to witness this afternoon is one of the most cherished and enduring traditions in the Nigerian Army. The West African social activities date back to the era of the West African Frontier Force, when the British colonial commanders introduced a social forum into African military life. The initiative allows soldiers to showcase their rich cultural heritage, customs, and way of life.
Representing the Zamfara State Governor Dauda Lawal, the Commissioner for Works Lawal Barau commended officers and men of 1 Brigade under Operation Fencing Yamma for their resilience, courage, and sustained efforts in combating insecurity across the state. He assured the military of the continued support and appreciation of the state government and the people of Zamfara.
As this event draws to a close, His Excellency reiterates the commitment of the Zamfara State Government to continue collaboration and support with the Nigerian Army and other security agencies within available resources in the collective pursuit of lasting peace and development in the state.
The event also featured prize presentations to outstanding personnel and a spirited tug-of-war competition involving the Nigerian Army, Air Force, Navy, Department of State Services, and the Federal Road Safety Corps. You're watching the live broadcast of News Express. When News Express returns, Iran warns Washington of retaliation if US launches attack. Details coming shortly, plus business and sports stories. On the other side of this break, please stay with us. You're welcome back from that break, and now to business news, where the price war in the petroleum sector has continued to deepen as some retail outlets have dropped the prices of premium motor spirits, petrol, below the 739 naira per litre recommended by the Dangote Petroleum Refinery. The Dangote Refinery slashed petrol pump price from 900 naira to 739 naira in December. Many importers and depot owners have lamented mounting losses. To remain competitive, many operators were forced to sell petrol rates below their cost. During a survey, some filling stations now sell PMS cheaper than MRS oil, the main partner endorsed by the Dangote Refinery to champion the price reduction to 739 naira per litre. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited is facing potential legal exposure running into trillions of naira, with pending lawsuits against the state-owned energy firm rising to about 2.27 trillion naira in the financial year ended 2024. This is according to an analysis of its 2024 annual showing that while the Nation Oil Company has recognized 474.8 billion naira as contingent liabilities in its financial statement, additional lawsuits estimated at 1.8 trillion naira remain unresolved across various courts, with no provisions made for them. The legal claims figure represents a 1.63 trillion naira increase, or about 256%, compared with the 638.38 billion naira recorded in 2023. The analysis showed that NNPC recognized 474.8 billion naira as contingent liabilities in its 2024 financial statement, a steep rise from the 18.14 billion naira provided for in 2023, an increase of 456.66 billion naira, or over 2,500% year-on-year. Still talking business, the federal government has proposed a 142 billion naira for the construction of 6 national bus terminals in the 2026 budget, which has a total proposal size of 58.47 trillion naira. The project was captured in the 2026 appropriation bill under the Ministry of Transportation, which was allocated a proposed budget of 352.1 billion naira for the 2026 fiscal year. The inclusion of the project in the appropriation bill follows an earlier approval by the Federal Executive Council (FEC) in August 2025. And now to news making rounds on the foreign scene. United States President Donald Trump says Washington is considering very strong options in response to Iran's crackdown on anti-government protests, including the possibility of military action. Speaking to reporters, Trump said the United States military is reviewing the situation, adding that the decision would be made after careful consideration. He also claimed Iran's leadership had reached out to negotiate following his warnings, noting that a meeting was being arranged, but cautioned that the United States may have to act before a meeting. Now, fresh protests have broken out across Iran despite a nationwide internet shutdown, as rights groups warn that security forces are using lethal force to crush demonstrations that began over economic hardship and have now escalated into direct challenge to the theocratic government of the country. And now the reports. Demonstrators returned to the streets of Tehran, Mashhad, and other major cities overnight, defying a heavy security presence and expanding communications blackout, now lasting more than 60 hours. Human rights organizations say the clampdown has intensified, with reports of rising death, mass arrest, and hospitals struggling to cope, even as authorities insist they are responding to vandalism and unrest. Amid de-escalating crackdown, Reza Pahlavi, the exiled son of Iran's ousted Shah, urged Iranians to remain in the street and continue the protests, describing the moment as decisive for the country's future.
خیابان‌ها را رها نکنید. قلب و روحم با شماست و می‌دانم که به زودی در کنار شما خواهم بود.
With tensions rising and the government warning against foreign interference following comments by United States President Donald Trump, analysts say Iran is facing one of the most serious internal challenges to clerical rule in decades. Mukhtar Khan. Meanwhile, nationwide protests in Iran have entered a third week, heightening tensions between Tehran and Washington. Iran has warned it will retaliate if the United States, after the United States President Donald Trump threatened action to protect demonstrators amid a deadly security crackdown. Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Baghir Khalifa accused the United States and Israel of fueling the unrest, warning that Israel and United States military assets in the region could become legitimate targets if Iran is attacked. Iranian authorities say security forces have intensified efforts to quell what they describe as riots. And now to sport. The Confederation of African Football (CAF) has launched an investigation into the alleged misconduct by players and officials during the CAF Africa Cup of Nations 2025 quarterfinals clashes between Cameroon and Morocco, as well as Algeria and Nigeria. According to a statement posted on CAF's official website, the Continental Football Governing Body has collected match report and video evidence suggesting potentially unacceptable behavior and has referred the matter to the disciplinary board for further review. The probe follows the reports of confrontations with referees and disruptions in post-match areas. In the meantime, the Super Eagles have returned to their Africa Cup of Nations base in Fez to begin preparation for the semi-final clash against Morocco following their quarter-final victory in Marrakesh over Algeria. In a brief statement from the team's media officer, Promise Ofoge, he said the squad was back to base in the ancient Moroccan city, adding that they held a recovery session at the Sardine Football Complex in Fez as they began tactical preparation. The Confederation of African Football has unveiled Nigeria's route to the 2026 FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup following the draw for the African qualifiers held on Saturday in Rabat. Nigeria's Under-17 women's team, the Flamingos, will enter the qualification campaign as the second round stage, where they are scheduled to face the winner of the preliminary tie between Ghana, Niger, and Guinea Republic. The first leg of the encounter is set to take place between May 22 and 24, with the return leg fixed for May 29 to 31. Still talking sport, match officials in the Nigeria Premier Football League have confirmed receipt of their unpaid indemnities for officiating in the Nigerian top flight ahead of the second stanza of the 2025-2026 season. The payments to match referees, assessors, and match commissioners stalled after match day 8, but some referees who were involved in match day 9 and 10 have confirmed the receipt of their allowances, as outstanding payments are expected to be completed before the start of the second stanza on Wednesday. Officials, including match referees, match commissioners, and referee assessors, were owed allowances for about 11 match days before the league went on its mid-season break in December 2025. Now, as Global TV News Express comes to an end, here is a recap of our top stories. On Global TV News Express, we brought to you that President Bola Tinubu has arrived in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates, positioning Nigeria at the center of high-level global conversations on sustainability, climate action, and economic transformation. In business, the federal government has proposed 142 billion naira for the construction of 6 national bus terminals in the 2026 budget, which has a total proposed size of 58.7 trillion naira. On the foreign scene, Iran warned it will retaliate if the United States intervenes after U.S. President Donald Trump threatened action to protect demonstrators amid a deadly security crackdown. And in sport, you heard that the Confederation of African Football has launched an investigation into alleged misconduct by players and officials during the CAF Africa Cup of Nations 2025 quarterfinals clashes between Cameroon and Morocco, as well as Algeria and Nigeria. That's it on News Express. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and on StarTimes channel 276. Kindly follow us across all our social media platforms now showing on your screen using @Global TV NG. I am Mukhtar Kasim, saying a very big thank you for watching.